Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. This is going to be basically a show and tell type video. And I'm not sure if that's what Angela, the traveling crafter, had in mind when she came up with that hashtag, but I'm going to use it anyway. Basically, showing and telling versus actually, doing a tutorial or a haul or something like that. Let me begin by welcoming you to my channel, whether you're new or returning. Your presence is so welcome and so appreciated by me. You have no idea. It is Valentine's Day morning as I'm taping this. And of course, I have no idea when you'll see it or even when I'll post it yet. So know that whether it's February 14th or not, I truly do have a soft spot for each of you. Okay. If you've watched the channel at all, that I'm working on a blush journal that will probably turn into 4 blush journals. And you also may know that Kim Newberg sent me a box of absolutely gorgeous blush-colored stuff, thinking that I could use it in my projects. And of course, I am. Now, 2 of the things that she included in that box were these really ratty vintage quilt pieces. You can see that this one is quite small and needs some straightening out here, but that doesn't mean that it won't get used. I don't know. I've been doing progress videos kind of as I go along. I can't remember if I told you what I had in mind for my covers or not. But I do know that I clearly need a cover for at least some of the signature pages I put aside. So over the years that I've been doing this, and based on the amount of stuff that I have, you'd think it's been 15 years, but no. Basically, I started taking my first baby steps during COVID. That's when I first learned what junk journals were and so on. I've always been a book collector, so I had a lot of books in my own personal library. And of course, because if you're a beginner, maybe you can identify with this feeling. I felt, oh my goodness, I'm seeing all this gorgeous stuff that everybody has, and I don't have any of that stuff. So, like, I better go out and I better get some. Anyway, that's just a little preamble to say I have deconstructed a lot of books. And so I went to the basement. This is where I keep them now. They're filling part of a dresser. They're on some open shelving. They are little and they are big and they're skinny and they're wide. Anyway, I picked this book. I don't mind red covers. I know that some people hate them, but in this case, it's immaterial. It is in good shape. Incidentally, I continue to love Irma Bombeck. She was she was probably at her heyday about the time I became a new mother. And who doesn't love to laugh? She had, I don't know how many titles she ended up with in her lifetime, but she wrote about the trials and tribulations of being a wife and a mother. With immortal titles like If Life's a Bowl of Cherries, Why Am I in the Pits? Let's see. I probably won't be able to think of it, of any others, but that's the thing. That was her shtick. So I had this book and I thought, okay, it's got a nice wide spine. So I could, basically from curve to curve, 1.5 inches, because goodness knows I have a lot of stuff. So I thought this was a contender for one of the journals that's going to result from all that blush colored stuff. So let's just sort of roughly fold this around, and you can see how gorgeous that would be with needing very little more added to it. So, but of course, another piece of fabric that Kim sent was this beautiful bark cloth. By the way, she did a flip through of a journal. It's now in her coffee shop. So if you want a piece of Kim Newberg, go there and check it out. Anyway, she also sent this fabric, and I love it. And anyway, I noticed as she did her flip through that she used this fabric. Was it on her cover or was it something inside? I can't remember those details now, but well, why am I acting like this is the first time I've ever held a piece of fabric? I just want to give you a feel for how gorgeous this might look too. Now this might be a bit more touch and go, although I don't need that much to wrap it around. So the jury is still out on which cover it'll be, but you can see how gorgeous that is as well. Anyway, so that's, I guess I'll when the time comes, I'll show you how I intend to cover this book cover with fabric, one piece or the other. But the surprising part is while I was down there touching all those book covers, I came across something else. Projects that I had started, and I don't want to say abandoned because that sounds like a negative connotation. But let's just say projects that were pushed down the line because something else more pressing must have come along. Anyway, I thought it was absolutely, it was good luck that I found this, because it reminded me that this is something I wanted to share with you. And I'm not going to get into it totally today. I'm just going to do a cliffhanger here. These are two books that I began altering. I remember distinctly, and this is like a teen book of some sort, 10 Rules for Living with My Sister. Anyway, I was shallow enough to buy this book simply because of the book cover. And I don't think it had these marks on it, so I've probably done that. That's probably glue. But again, we know that that is not a deal breaker. So watch for a video coming to a home near you soon about altering books. But just to conclude, I will show you, if you saw a haul video that I had done some time ago, you'll know that I picked up this book. It wasn't, that's what I would have seen on the shelf at Value Village. Not an not an old book at all, but kind of one of those retrospective books where they would have covered their history. Anyway, so what I had done was obviously deconstruct it because the cover is great and it could be used for something at some point. I took out the nicest, food kind of images. And if it looks kind of skimpy, that's because I have more to show you. Then there were gorgeous, here's some more food ones. These full pagers are nice, and then there are, these partial ones. Another nice thing about how this book was laid out is they've got the little Kellogg symbol and they've got the page numbers in those little red boxes, which is automatically more interesting than just an ordinary layout. Plus the blue titles. Okay, so we have that. That's nice. That's nice, yeah. But look at this. Can you automatically see belly bands, small journaling cards, pockets, collage fodder? Oh, so I just realized these must have been chapter headings. So soups and salads, breakfasts, desserts, side dishes, and of course all this vintage, this vintage layout and imagery from, because the company is pretty old. I mean, it's over 100 years old. Sorry. So several of those pages. That's very nice too. Now this is kind of what I have left of some of the things that I fussy cut. And you can see that I save even the, some font and whatever. I'll just sort of, I cut out several of these that had a little bit of, a pull quote that would explain kind of. So Norman Rockwell created the Kellogg Kids for Kellogg's cornflakes packaging in the 1950s. And we know that's quintessential Rockwell. That's just cute. Raisin Bran was introduced in 1942 as the first fruit-added cereal in history. It remained the only fruit-added brand until the 1980s. Who doesn't remember those Snap, Crackle, and Pop guys? This is a little goofy-looking kid here. 1956. Okay, so we know that the company was formed in 1906 because here they were celebrating their 50th anniversary. And on. More Rockwell kids. Another thing that could easily be a belly band, although something would have to be sacrificed. So anyway, I had all those things. Every time I looked at that book and the associated stuff that I had sort of deconstructed out of it, it made me smile because I think most, it's sort of one of those brands that has been around forever. And I don't know about you. Maybe there are some people that are turned off by the vibrancy of red, but I happen to like it. One of the earliest color scheme that I ever had, decor-wise, when I left home to go to college, first home as a new bride and mother, red was my accent color. So you should not be at all surprised. Oh, and it's not a, people have done the psychology of color studies, and it's not an accident that red is quite often a color that you see in restaurants. Of course, there are, design trends and so on, but red is a color that stimulates appetite. So now my intention was to do this with you, but I just got carried away. I frittered away much of yesterday making this folio. And the basis for it was a tri-fold piece of junk mail. Okay, so it's 11 inches tall, and each panel is roughly 5.5 inches wide. It was a piece of junk mail about from a real estate company that sells farmland. So anyway, I thought, well, they've paid for the cardstock. They've paid to have it folded. Why don't I just cover the panels? So the first thing I did, and again, in hindsight, I wasted too much time trying to work in those little page, little red boxes with the numbers, page numbers, and, picking kind of interesting titles. So anyway, let me just show you what I ended up with. And I'll just briefly, like, because this is quite a tall thing, and I didn't want to start bringing in other elements, I fussy cut the K. This was an odd shaped piece. This had a corner missing, so I kind of tucked that under this plate of whatever this dessert is, and it's on a cake plate. And then I had this lady looking off. I don't know, is she looking off into the distance, or is she looking wistfully at that dessert? Not quite sure. Used part of a title there as well. So then okay, you can see my background layout. And what I had done was I ran most of the pages over the edge just so that the edge is reinforced and covered. So I fussy cut around this. I left the little trivia thing intact. Back these things. And again, you know, this, I realize that this is not everyone's taste to have this explosion of color. But there's no mistaking the theme here. Now, this is a bit risky having this leaf sticking out here, but I did back this. I thought she was beautiful. And this looked fine the way it was, so I didn't back it. And this is just cute. Just cute. So I tucked those things in there. Then I originally had folded just ordinary typewriter paper, or copy paper. And then I thought, well, maybe that's a bit boring, so why don't I use some of the full color pages? And I didn't bother doing anything to the back of them. First of all, I was going to have 3, because again, there really is no spine here to speak of. Oh, I should tell you that in order to cover whatever print was on the real estate brochure, I first used some washi tape that I thought would both reinforce and cover at the same time. You can see it's not very wide at all. So I did use glue stick, and then I had to touch it up in places where it was lifting with art glitter glue. Anyway, so I was saying I had picked 3 typewriter pages, and then I found a whole bunch of these recipe, like these photo pages that I wanted to use, and then all of a sudden it becomes like 6 pages. So I had to cut back. So I think I ended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I ended up with 5 pages because I made 2 of these little booklets and used a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So there's plenty of room to write and whatever. This is another piece of this folio. So I fussy cut around Tony the Tiger. These were cute, turned them into journaling cards. I had to unfortunately cut part, look at how cute he looks peeking out of there. I had to cut part of this jar off, which was kind of sad, but I relocated these berries because I didn't want to lose them. They were so cute. And you can see some of the background collaging that I'd done just of recipe pages, text pages. So again, you know, I think sometimes it's risky having these kind of pointy corners, but then I'm thinking, well, it's not going, you know, I'm either keeping it, or if it if someone ends up buying it, you know, we're adults, we know how to take care of stuff. So I just thought it was kind of important to be authentic and keep it the way it was, as opposed to square it off and kind of be boring. So here would be another page. Now, maybe it was that point that got caught there. So more things that I've backed. I thought this was really cute. I had to trim it, and I just offset it because why not? So these things go in here. And I didn't ink a thing. I turned this. Okay, it says a week of meals for the Kellogg kids. So they actually, well, that's all they had shown. There was 4 days. I thought this was a little bit interesting. Basically, what kind of stuffing, the ingredients you would need for a different sized bird. So that I thought was kind of cute. Here is the, well, okay, here's this center thing. Now there's absolutely nothing here that is interactive, but it is very kind of bold and I think fun. The other side of this page was just like a landscape of cornflakes. And at first I thought I was using that side, and then I decided on this side. Fussy cut around this, and this is where those berries originally came from. So the other little booklet here has more, same sort of scenario. You'll notice that because these pages were quite a bit shorter, at least 2 inches shorter than these, I did my top and bottom holes like about 1.5 inches in from the edge, just to make sure that these things were secured. And obviously the other sides of those pages. So this goes this way. I showed you that. So now again, this does become a wee bit bulky. I'll show you the back side. It stays relatively, I mean, I did have it clipped overnight, but oh, let me show you the back. So there were a series of these black historic photos. So I just tried to keep them more or less in chronological order. I'd fussy cut out Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And I just glued them over for a bit of color and to fill some of the, maybe the more awkward spaces. And I was kind of proud of myself that I actually remembered to put them in the right order, because initially I had them all mixed up. Anyway, what can I tell you? Kellogg developed recipes for kids' camps, schools, and other whatever. In 1931, Kellogg established the cottage kitchen to house the test kitchen and entertain visitors to the Battle Creek plant. Now, I have no idea where the Battle Creek plant is, but 1911 packing shift crew. The home ec department was established in 1923 to standardize and develop recipes using Kellogg cereals. Look at those glasses of hers. Kellogg Kitchens developed complete menus and manuals for children's camps. The 1950 My Vacation at Camp included favorite campfire songs. And that concludes that. So, you know, I'll probably find a ribbon closure of some sort to keep this a little more closed. But I just thought you might be interested in seeing this. And basically the origin was a piece of junk mail and a book that I had deconstructed. So I think, how does this lie better? Maybe like so. Nope, worse. So that is that, my lovelies. I just wanted to sort of keep you up to date on what I've been up to. And I did include the cliffhanger about the blush journal cover that's coming, and the altered book examples that now that I've rediscovered them, I will make it my business to complete them. And I would be interested to know in the comments whether or not, and I guess maybe it would also be interesting to know how long you've been at this, whether or not you have a number of projects that you have started and for whatever reason didn't complete. Are you ever going back to them? Am I the only one that has? all of these skeletons in my crafting closet that, you know, I even forgot I had done. And if you've got some tips for figuring out, you know, what next and how to clear up some of the backlog, I'd be interested in hearing it. You may remember, if you were a subscriber at the time, that I had a thing where I had made little strips of paper. I don't know if I can't really see that within reach here, but I had made I made a strip of paper for, just like an entry form, for all the started projects that I wanted to complete. And then to add some fun, add some randomness to the whole process, I just would do a random draw. That, to be honest, is how the tree thing happened. We're calling it now the tree incident. Yeah, so I picked tree journal, and that was like, you know, basically, I drew with, you know, integrity and so on. And I didn't throw it back in the thing and pick another one. I just thought, okay, it's time, do it. So that became, oh, I picked the hashtag Get Her Done, and there's a playlist for that. So I think I have many more little pieces of paper that I could add to that, but I also know that is just a tool to get things going. A person has to be flexible enough to also work on what seems like on projects that have just the time has come for them. So finding those 2 altered books means that that's going to be next. And that's going to be interspersed between the other things that I'm also working on, which is the finishing the purple journal and obviously however many blush journals result. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm calling this one Show and Tell. And another hashtag that Angela had introduced at during the same video was Give a Scrap. So you know that if you said that kind of fast or mumbled a bit or whatever, it could turn out totally different. So are these scraps? I don't know. Anyway, thanks, guys. You know where I'm going with this. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.